Welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. We have four young men here. Our friend Matt Starr introduced. Actually, there was no formal intro. Matt did a post that he was working with these guys. I said I had to get them on the show, and here we are. We have the four handsome fellas from Audiomelt. Gentlemen, good
What's
evening.
up?
How you doing?
How you doing?
So you guys are just about the recordings in the can. Been mixed, mastered. What's your next steps?
We've got some more vocals to go, studio wise, but other than that,
We're about done with the album.
Standard mix.
We're trying to get some singles out before the album, get people listening to individual tracks before the album drops.
So I think that's a good strategy in this day and age, because I hate to say that the attention span of a full album right out of the gates, I don't think is there. Unless you're an uber, huge band, and even for some of those guys, it's not there. So your strategy is what, in the next, few weeks to a month, you're gonna put a single out.
Yeah, we'll probably put a few singles out, maybe two or three more, I'd say. Yeah. Before the whole album drops.
Yeah. Okay, so talk to me about how long from start to finish. You guys have been a band how long?
Since August 2020.
August of 2020. We all four of us were together.
Yeah. Okay, so safe to say you guys are sort of a COVID project in a way. Is that a fair?
Yeah, a little bit pre-COVID, but all the four of us finally formed in August of 2020. So yeah.
Well, I'll say hats off to you guys, because my podcast started out of that. Basically, I figured, you know what? I'll have 5 weeks to just talk to some of my musical friends, and I'll be back playing. And 2 years later, here we are. So did the bulk of your material come together during that downtime that we were all forced into?
I feel like, y'all go ahead.
I mean, for the most part, the material is just, sometimes it's hit, sometimes it hasn't, and we'll rework stuff a lot of times too. So it's just
most of our stuff did come during COVID. Like, we had maybe one song we had written before.
So very early on, it started with like a song or two that we started writing, and then it kind of goes through its changes. Like, does this work? And as it got later on into COVID, less shows for a little bit. At a certain point, we got into more of that writing, like a whole, like, let's work on an album. So now we're about, it almost seems like 2 years in, where the album's gonna have we're finishing up the album, and it has, I think, about 9 songs, and so some stuff was pulled from like very early on, and a couple of songs are kind of newer in the past year. So the whole writing phase was about a year and a half, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the average age of your band is what? You guys are how old?
They're the youngest. Yeah.
The average age. So I guess we can go from left to.
Oh yeah, I'm 21.
Okay.
I'm 16
and 17. So it's us three very similar in age and just a little bit older.
So being the old man and legal in the States now. So I'm guessing a lot of your shows are all age shows, and maybe you guys are putting on your own things. What type of shows are you playing?
Though too now, since I think that age, me turning that age since then has been helpful, because I've been playing music in this area for a long time before the band and everything. But since turning 21, I think that's helped open up a lot of doors for us to be able to play.
Now, up here in Canada, we had this conversation today. So way back in the 1900s and the 20s, there was prohibition in the States. So that meant that you couldn't get booze in the States.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so everybody came up to Canada to get their booze. Well, our liquor laws up here are so stringent now compared to what you guys have down there. Is it the same thing? Are you guys able to go to bars and play, or do you have to play other venues?
We can play bars.
I would say 90% of all bars will allow us.
Yeah. We play a lot of bar gigs.
It's looked at more as the entertainer, like we're not going there to party and drink, we're kind of doing it. We're doing our job for their business, so it's kind of looked at in that way, I guess.
So you guys being young guys and what have you. I mean, and I was there once, and I remember, being 12, 13 years old, trying to find the discipline to, all your friends are out there playing football or soccer or up here hockey. The discipline to like go, hey, you know what? I can't do that, guys. I got to practice. You guys are kind of, I guess, still there in a sense because you probably have some friends that are doing some things that maybe you don't get to do because you guys are trying to focus on the craft.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I mean,
Yeah, we experience that a lot. I mean, we all have our own separate little. We got other friends that we talk to that don't involve the band, but we lock in. We get work done. We do what we need to do. We spend a lot of time together. We bond together a lot.
Yeah.
yeah, which you kind of have. I mean, you have to do that. You kind of learn each other. You kind of learn each other's like chemistry, or
In terms of rehearsal and whatnot, where you put your tunes together, where do you guys convene when you're playing and rehearsing?
It's usually Nico's house or my house.
We got two main spots.
Yep.
Because I got like a decent drum setup, and he has his
like,
drums.
Yeah, and when recording, I mean, well, like for like the final production of like guitars and like bass and stuff, it's been a lot at Nico's because we're lucky to have the gear to do like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of that guitar stuff has been here, but demo work is kind of all spread around, like sending ideas back and forth. So it's
So when you guys were starting your demoing and then you get to the phase of getting ready to record and before you even get involved with Matt, one of the things that I find, so I have a son that he's in his 20s, but he's into hip hop and he learned how to produce and what have you, more so than me. I mean, he can find something on YouTube and next thing you know, he's producing world class things. Were you guys doing some of that before you got Matt involved and just kind of doing your own demos and using technology?
oh yeah
Yes, a lot.
So well, I'll explain how I got into that myself was because I started doing drum covers about like with like mics and like the DAWs and stuff, and kind of got introduced with that about 5-6 years ago. Never took it as serious with like learning how to record, like, produce, and like just I knew how to hit record and kind of just get some tracks down. But when the pandemic started, I took that time to learn. Like I got really into playing guitar and bass a lot more too. So like really step that up, which helped you start writing the ideas. So that's when I got into the mindset of like, let me get in my room and learn this stuff the right way and start learning how to, record properly, have the right gear, mix, and kind of work on trying to like master the stuff and just get a solid demo. And I think that would be kind of similar for him.
Yeah, same thing basically with me. I've got a pretty decent recording setup in my room that I practice every day. I started about the same time as I'm 13, messing around with recording and stuff, and I haven't stopped since then. So the tracks that we recorded at my house for guitar and bass and the layers and the we have synthesizers on the album too. All of that was done in my room, in my house. All the final takes for all that stuff.
Yeah, and then vocals and drums are all done.
The vocals and the drums were done in an actual studio at Hourglass Studio in our town. But I think
Okay, and so before we work Matt in, one of the things I do, because one of the things that fascinates me about kind of and I'm kind of the vintage of Matt. Matt and I would have grown up, kind of in I think he's a little bit older than I, but in the same sort of thing. But I knew what it was like having to learn how to play and figure out tunes based upon technology I had. Some of your influences are, and we'll go around the horn, left to right again, but your influence would be.
Oh, it varies. Because I listen to all kinds of different stuff. But if I want to narrow it down to certain things, I was really inspired coming up with Paul Stanley, Kiss, and all that. And I grew up with Van Halen, that kind of stuff. I was 3 years old. Yeah, I saw that in the back. Oh, that's cool too. Heck yeah, Creatures back there. Heck
Well,
yeah.
yes, I tell you, I don't have it. Well, I do have it handy, but I got the 40th anniversary Creatures of the Night box
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
and I got the 45th Destroyer, and pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, so go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that Van Halen, 3 years old. Remember being a little kid listening to that, and going on, say into high school, it was more like Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Living Color, Mother Love Bone, Malfunction, all sorts of like that Seattle stuff that was coming out then from the '90s. I was really big fan of. Still am.
Yeah.
Right on.
My main influence would actually have to be Metallica and Negative.
Oh yeah, of course that's yeah.
Every day I'd be in the car with my parents. My dad would throw it on, and I just grew up listening to it. I loved it.
Did you just said Iron Maiden, right?
No,
I
Metallica.
thought you said Iron Maiden, but Metallica, that's
I
cool
love
too.
both too. Yeah, Iron Maiden's
Yeah.
great show.
Yeah, Iron Maiden's
Love
great
Iron
too.
Maiden. Their shows are amazing.
I grew up with a lot of the same stuff too. Like mostly Metallica was like the gods of music for me. Like that's why I picked up a guitar. Master of Puppets, the whole album, every song on that album. But now coming into my high school days, I've been listening to a lot of like '90s and grunge and a lot of Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and I've been bumping a lot of the modern metal stuff too, like Periphery and like some Trivium and like the newer stuff, Tesseract, Animals as Leaders, proggy stuff. It's helpful when you're learning guitar and coming up with new techniques. It's crazy what they're doing.
For sure.
Innovative stuff.
And me, at a young age, growing up, like, always around, like, there was Alice in Chains, Megadeth, Metallica, Pantera, and actually at a young age, also Aerosmith was one of my big influences. And then like Nico said, like these days it's kind of with, well, also I can explain like the whole like social media thing has helped me discover a lot more. So like bands like The Periphery, Trivium, Tesseract, like that, like him, it's very inspiring to see those kind of bands. Like they kind of, some of them started through social media, just like, they had like MySpace and they were uploading their demos, and
we do a lot of the similar stuff that these types of like modern metal and influencers are doing nowadays. Like they have like public demos that anyone can listen to, and we have that too as well. Me and Josh both have SoundCloud accounts. We post demos of just things we make.
I have to tell you, gentlemen, you made me look very smart. It's the first time in 2 years, because I had a theory and I shared it. A friend of mine shared it with me, and I agree. One is that the amount of information that you can now access, and you mentioned it with finding those bands on YouTube, is just crazy.
Yeah.
The second thing, though, is you guys mentioned a lot of bands and a lot of influences that were around well before you were even on this earth. I'm guessing you heard your parents listen to that stuff, right?
Yeah, some of that.
I mean, a lot of the music though that we are right now really into, we found on our own. Like we've all gone down the rabbit hole of the music our parents have showed us, and filtered out kind of from what they've showed us the things that stand out to us individually. Yeah. And we have a lot of like variety between the four of us. Like we'll just sit around sometimes and just throw on tunes, and like I don't know, we find so much music just from the four of us. Like
that's great. And you know what? We're gonna stick a pin in segment 1. We're gonna go to segment 2 because I want to get on your recording process. I want to get on that. So we're back after this.